I've called you here today to bear my mind on what has become an unpleasant trend. What is right now beginning to take root in our polity. What has also become very shameful trend in our history as Ndi Igbo. And this is the sit at home on Mondays. And as we have witnessed lately, even in other days, I had earlier warned that if we did nothing, it was going to get to a point where we're going to be told not just to sit at home on Mondays, but to perpetually sit at home and only go out when we are told to. And as you can see, we're almost there. We're actually there now, because it has gone beyond the Monday's sit at home. It is now also for the other days. These murderers, these unelected persons, would stay somewhere in the comfort of their home and order us here in Enugu and Igbo land to sit at home when they want us to sit at home, and to give us a break when they think that we have stayed enough at home, and then say, look, we're giving you a break to go and shop. And we're also ordering you when to come back to continue to sit at home. That is not who we are, and we cannot allow ourselves to be cowed, to be intimidated by these hoodlums. I mean, don't forget that our forebears, our forefathers, gwara anyị na anaghị eji mgbagbu aghara ọgụ. Ọkwa ihe anyị agaghị eji mgbagbu aghara ọgụ. We had gone out as a people to fight for what we believed in, despite the fact that we knew that we may also lose our lives in the course of doing that. But because it was a principle we believed in, we fought for it. So since when did we, as a people, become so intimidated that with any slight gunshot in the air, we begin to scamper, even when sometimes it's just imaginary, and we're in our room, we will begin to hide under the bed. We're now being made a laughing stock by other states in this country. In fact, the death that we're afraid of by the bullets we make reference to sometimes would certainly come to us by the depth of impoverishment we're causing to ourselves by this sitting at home. Because that's where we're ending up. The practice of sitting at home, ordered by somebody you have not given your mandate to lead you, ordered by some murderers would end up impoverishing you, your women, and your children if we did nothing. It's important for us to understand the connection between poverty and this so-called sit-at-home. Each Monday that we sit at home, we lose over 10 billion naira from the economic activities that ought to have happened here in our state. People who ordinarily would have stayed in a hotel till Monday before they travel would decide against staying beyond Sunday. So what happens? The revenue the hoteliers would have generated, gone. People who would have come into Enugu to participate in one economic activity or the other won't show up because you say you're sitting at home on Monday. And then, of course, the perception it creates. It also means that all the programs we've outlined to you that we're going to basically deploy, the economic development plans we have will not take root if we're unable to attract private sector investment. And private sector investment won't happen if there is a perception of insecurity in our state. We did say to you that our plan is to move the economy of Enugu State from a public sector-driven economy to a private sector-driven economy. Private sector, as I've always said, is not Father Christmas. They are not philanthropists. They are people who rely on returns on investment. And there are certain risks that they won't take. One of them is insecurity. Businesses can take financial risk, they can take commercial risk, but they cannot take security risk. And sometimes we generate this, we create it just by the perception they have, not necessarily the reality. Because if you noticed, since we declared a ban on the Mondays sit at home, there hasn't really been any strike by the hoodlums. So what we are actually afraid of only exists in our imagination. And because it's a fear that they've deployed their antics to create using the weapon of social media, they continue to magnify their violence as if we believe in something and somebody threatens violence, we cannot go out and fight for what we believe in. We've never been known as cowards or people who cannot stand for what they believe in. Again, I want to invoke the words of our forefathers. Anaghị eji mgbagbu aghara ọgụ. So I really do want to call on you to galvanize your communities, to get them to understand that there is no such thing as sit at home, whether it's on Monday or other days. If there is a public holiday, it will be formally announced that there is a public holiday. And we can do that because you gave us your mandate to lead you. But you should never allow someone you have not given your mandate, someone that is unelected, to give you those orders and you heed to it. The day we start doing that, it effectively means that someone is making us inferior without our consent. We are not unmindful of the need to provide adequate security. And I can tell you that working with all the security agencies in the state, we have put them on the highest level of alert to ensure that measures are put in place for the protection of lives and property in our state. So I want to call on us to resist this cowardly behavior and not to accept that we can have someone unelected, a known murderer, living in a comfort outside the shores of our state, outside the shores of our country. Order us, our women, our children, when to go to work, when to go to school, when to sit at home, when to take a break. We must resist that with everything we have. And to say enough is enough. It must end, and it must end now. That is the hope we have for future greatness. That is the hope we have to attract investors to Enugu, where we can create wealth and generate employment for our people. So I'm hoping that as we leave here today, we're leaving with one message that we have to pass on to our communities. There is no such thing. It should be erased from our lexicon. It's part of our history that we don't want to remember. That we ever had a time where people ordered us to sit at home and we did. We should be in a hurry to erase that from our history. We should go back to our culture of hard work, our culture of industry, our culture of commerce. We're not lazy people. We're not indolent people. We're not people who cannot be creative. And that's what it's, as I said, gradually, unfortunately, taking root in our state. But with our resolve here today, because frankly, the whole communities in Enugu is represented here. If we live here with an absolute resolve that we can see the connection between this sit at home and devastation of our economy, and we live here with one resolve to go back and galvanize our people that they must come out and do their trade, work, go to school, what they must do are the days they must do it. And if we have reason to ask you to take a break from work, we would give you a valid reason for doing so. And be not deceived by people who would make you believe that they are fighting a cause. It has nothing with it has nothing to do with fighting a cause. Because we're very strategic people. We know that we cannot take steps to impoverish ourselves as a strategy for making a point. That will be self-defeatist. It will be cutting your nose to spite your face.